Hi everyone, it's Hanif Khan here. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm going to hopefully be sharing with you how to do an assisted sale today. So let's get started straight away and I'll talk you through it. Okay, I'm sure you guys have kind of heard a little bit about assisted sales. This is one of my favourite power plays, and really what you've got to think about is why do you want to do an assisted sale and in which situations would it be useful for you. So the way I like to think of assisted sales is what it really is. An assisted sale is just a way in which you are helping a seller or a vendor to make them able to sell their house easier. So you act as a go-between between the seller and the estate agent or whoever else you're going to sell it, to make their life easier to allow them to sell it. So some of the kind of people and some of the kind of situations you'd be using that in is, for example, when you get deals where there's low equity, there's very little equity in the deal. So let's say you had a house worth 200,000 and they had a mortgage of 185k. There's not really enough equity in that deal to do the deal. There's no, only 15,000. So you don't really want to buy that property. You don't really want to do anything else with that property. Normally these are the kind of deals you just throw away and forget about it. With an assisted sale you can get access to some of that equity. One of the real simple ways that you do that is just say to the vendor, you'll split whatever you get above the mortgage amount, the 185, on a 50-50 basis. So you end up with 7.5k each, roughly, minus your solicitor's costs. Now, so this is one of the scenarios that it's really, really useful to use an assisted sale on. Another one is, one of the real benefits of it is you don't need to worry about the 6-month rule at all. You can forget about the 6-month rule. Now, just for those of you who don't know what the 6-month rule is, the 6-month rule basically states that if you buy a house within 6 months and then you sell it on again, the mortgage company wants to know what the purchase price was that you bought it. So if you bought a house for 80,000 and you tried to sell it for 120, even if it was worth 120, the mortgage company wouldn't lend the buyer, the person who's buying the house off you, the full 120. They would say, we're only going to lend how much Hanif bought the house for, which was 80,000, because the time period has been so small. And that's one of the things that's really holding back doing quick purchases and reselling the property. And this allows you to get around that. Okay, so I'm sure lots of you have had these situations where you've had these kind of deals, these kind of scenarios where you're not sure exactly what to do. Another good place where you can use an assisted sale is, let's say you had some property, or you came across a property, a house that was worth 300k. It's worth about, say, 300,000. The mortgage currently on it is 250,000. The rent you'd expect to get from this property is, I don't know, let's say it's 900 a month. That's not really going to stack up as a buy-to-let, is it? There's no way that's going to work as a buy-to-let mortgage, because that rent is never going to be enough to pay that mortgage off. So what you wouldn't really be wanting to add this property to your long-term portfolio. But there's plenty, there's a good 50 grand's worth of equity in there. But it's not really something that you'd want to necessarily buy, because it's not quite 20%. It's only about, 50 grand. It's about 18% or so below market value. So it's the kind of deals that you don't really know what to do with, and generally you would have walked away from. However, with an assisted sale, you can set that deal up so that there's enough there for you to go off and sell that property on. And what you would do is basically exactly as above. You'd sell that property on for 300k. You'd have an agreement to pay off the mortgage of 250, and then anything above it, you'd have split that with the owner in some way. So if you split it 50-50, that's 25k for you, 25k for them. Now, you might ask, why is the owner going to want to do any of this stuff with you? And generally, that's the big question. But the way to think about that is, you have to offer that owner something. You've got to be giving them something that they've not been able to have. Now, generally, a lot of the people that we come across, a lot of the motivated sellers, so this isn't going to work unless the seller is motivated, but a lot of the motivated sellers we come across are people who are about to be repossessed on their house, the bailiff's coming in 2 or 3 weeks, so they've got no choice, but their house was going to get repossessed. Now, if their house was worth 300 and it was going to get repossessed, what do you think they would actually get on a sale? Probably around 250, maybe 200, 230. They're not going to get close to the market value because it's going to be sold so quick. So those kind of people, this is a win-win situation for them because they're going to get more than they would have if they sold the property really quickly. So from that point of view, you can create that win-win scenario for them. Now, the people who you get in these situations, generally what happens is the owner or the seller is being forced by the mortgage company to sell the house really quick. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to extend that period. So let's say they're going to get repossessed in a week or 2 weeks. What we want to do is extend that period. So instead of having to sell the house in a week or 2, we can get 3 months extension. The way you do that is basically you have to go along to the bank and you have to renegotiate with the bank and say, look, we're looking to sell this property, this is the deal that we've got, I'm looking to buy it, or I've got a client who's looking to buy it, and I then want 3 months in order for the whole deal to go through. Most banks and most mortgage lenders will allow you to do that. The only ones that don't allow you to do that currently are some of the subprime lenders, but generally you should be able to get this extension period done quite simply and quite easily. The main thing to think about, and the main the real main win that you've created is you've increased the time that the person has to sell it, and in order to do that, you're able to get a higher price for the property. One thing though to really consider it and think about is how are you gonna negotiate with the bank? You cannot negotiate with the bank unless you've got something called a letter of authority. And this letter of authority basically allows you to talk to the bank, talk to the mortgage lender, and get the amount and discuss the mortgage, think about what's happening in the mortgage and so on. So the idea is, I've told you why you'd want to do this, and I've told you a little bit about how you're going to do it. In the next part, I'll explain to you exactly the process of how you go through and create an assisted sale with the vendor. So I'll speak to you and see you in part 2 where I'll explain fully exactly how you get the vendor, what they need to sign up to, what they need to do, and how you put the process in place. See you in part 2. Take care, everyone. See you in a bit.